turn that one off. There you go. Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
We're live. Interview.
Balls.
And we're live.
We're here.
We're here.
Balls.
Well, hi everybody.
Yeah.
Check.
Bang 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 bang. Everybody here all right?
I think so. Maybe.
I think.
you just fine.
Awesome.
Check. Yeah.
Kalen.
Take over, Code Blue.
Well, welcome to the All Around Music Podcast. I'm Cody,
I'm Ben.
joined by Ben here, and
Might
Gotta move.
swallow
Yeah.
that mic there, Ben.
I don't
This
wanna-
thing moves,
no.
bro.
It does.
Yeah.
It's smooth.
You
got
gotta
a
get.
boom
You
stick.
gotta get up on it. Yeah.
I don't wanna like go.
You gotta get up in there.
So just do it.
I am obviously.
Yeah.
We're joined today by the Post Traumatic, coming off the release of their latest CD. So why don't you
Yeah.
guys introduce yourselves?
Tap this motherfucker in the head. You don't.
What I do?
You can't hear us.
Hey, let's
I can hear you
introduce.
just fine.
Alright.
I'm gonna take suit. My name's Kellen.
And what do you do?
Yeah,
What do you do?
Biggity bass.
What
Slap with the bass
do you
mod
do?
Slap at the bass.
Slap on the BS.
with my dick. I just had to drop
I
that
haven't
right
tried
away.
that because I don't want tetanus in my dick.
Just get your tetanus shot.
Yeah,
You'll be
but
just fine.
I don't have one.
But you'll
Yeah.
be just
And then you
fine.
build up some calluses and yeah. It's just
I don't need calluses
You
on
don't have
my
a super
dick.
dick.
This is sick. Anyways, go on.
Zach, I play drums.
Yeah.
He slaps the skins.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Or
Michael, Tyler.
Hi. I'm Michael.
I play guitar.
Guitar.
The old get you.
Lyman.
I'm Matt and I play guitar.
I'm Jennifer and I sing.
Woo!
I sing words.
Do the word stuff.
Anybody can do words.
Words. Words,
Yeah.
It's all about how you say them.
It's all about the right words that you choose to use.
It's not how big it is, it's how you use it.
It's not how big it is, it's how wide it is.
Oh, PC's gonna take off.
Oh yeah.
Oh, man.
It's about to bust them wings out.
Damn. I thought your fan turned on.
Yeah.
The little Einstein song should like hit right now. We're going on a trip in
Oh
our
my
favorite.
God.
Nobody?
No.
Okay, well.
I don't have kids.
Well, since
Neither do I.
The remix is dope though.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's pretty fire.
Little Einstein, Stein. Like, and then it goes down to. Alright, yeah.
You don't know
Yeah.
that?
No.
Yeah.
I have no
I have
idea.
no idea what you're talking about.
Not a clue. not even a single clue. I don't even know.
Not a little bit of clue.
Nope. No.
My YouTube time
Oh, I've got a clue.
spent on
I've got a raging clue.
how to make queso dip.
So you spend time on YouTube learning how to make queso and
Make-
show up with store-bought cheese spread.
Well,
got
this is not
Triscuits and
queso dip.
cheese.
This is a cheese spread, my friend.
Yeah, hot as balls.
Hot as bows.
Is
Bow.
Hot as balls or bowels? Because those are two different B words.
Bow.
it's hot.
I've heard,
It's
I have
hot
heard-
as your bowels.
I have heard so much about bowels
Once
lately
this is
that I
in
could go
your
the
mouth.
rest of my life without hearing about bowels.
Yeah, definitely.
Can I get a vowel?
Bow.
Can I get a
Bow.
vowel movement? See
Alright.
what I did there?
So yeah, I did.
So now what?
So we're a little bit off the rails here, but
yeah,
I
already.
think that's going to happen a lot since there's so many of us here. But you might recognize this fine young gentleman, Matt. He's
Wait,
at
with
the
my
bottom
good
of the
hand.
screen. Yeah. He
Mary.
normally hosts this show. But,
I do.
But he can't since he's actually in the band. He can't really interview himself. So he's implored
Yeah.
us
Yes.
to help him out with that. So
Couple gay boys.
we're
That's
not
how I like it.
professionals.
Definitely not.
We're not professionals, and we don't know what we're doing. But we're going to try our best.
But you are both.
But they're used to being
musicians,
on
too.
camera together.
Yes.
Ooh, yes.
Naked.
Right.
In the game business, you're on camera a lot.
This is their debut.
I honestly don't feel
I'm
like
taking
there's
all my
gonna
hate
be
for you and
rails
putting
in
it
this
that way.
situation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Product
Yeah.
I
placement.
feel like it's gonna be all over the place.
I don't know if mom's
It might
watching
be.
or not, so I'm gonna try to be nice.
You guys might have to move your mics a little closer
A
though.
little bit closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
I
go.
don't want to have to deep throat the mic.
No, you don't have to. Just get.
What's the
You
difference
gotta
in a
get right
mic
up
or
on it.
something
Yeah.
else?
Get on it.
Michael's already in it.
Who the fuck passed you the mic?
He's like, I can breathe
Magic
really heavily
mic,
into
am I
it.
right?
This just picks up everything.
That
I
is
was
a
gonna
nice
say
one.
because you sound so much louder than
Yeah.
everybody else.
Can I get a
Yeah.
condenser?
I don't like condensers.
I have one in my trunk. I just don't have a power
I guess the
supply
downside
to it.
is like every time the computer sounds like it's about to take off. Like
Oh yeah, you can hear it.
This thing
Oh,
looks
yeah.
like a shark tooth.
That's the updated Wii remotes.
I hate.
thought you were gonna say
I
something
I
completely
hate the
different.
slash mail toy.
That was my least favorite gaming console. I hate the Wii, dude. I
That's the
hate
latest version of the flashlight.
So Jen just came out as a
Little
lesbian.
guys.
Came
Wait,
out. I was
what?
gonna say.
She
that-
hates
I've-
the Wii.
I've always been out as that.
Oh, all right, my bad.
I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. I mean, I'm just whatever.
Like, sorry, bro.
If you're cute, you're
Correct
cute.
term is
If we
bisexual, but,
vibe, we vibe.
you know,
Hi, mom.
well, you know.
Hi.
So tell me a little bit about how this band started.
Oh Lord.
Let's
Gotta go
let's
that-
try to
let's
get
gotta
back
go
on
that.
it. Let's
Them first.
let's go to these people.
It all started with a secret handshake in Chipotle.
It really did.
Expand.
Really?
Well, we were both getting burrito bowls, and we
Neato.
turned to each other and just started like cohesively doing this secret handshake, which
Cool.
neither of us had ever done before.
So do
and
it
then
now.
and then we both showed our butt cheeks, and we had the conjoining letter tattoos, marks,
Yeah,
and
it was
nice.
really
nice.
Rem-
the guys
Reminiscent of Tenacious
backstage.
D,
Yeah,
which
the
is
guys
weird.
I was gonna
backstage
say,
told
yeah,
me
it
not to
sounds-
say this,
sounds
but
awful.
you know.
I love you,
Tenacious D.
baby, but all I can think of now is kill balls the sausage.
Kill balls the sausages.
Chicken warm.
You know, the band told me not to read this, but I'm gonna read it. I fucking love this band.
I don't know, honestly. How did it start? I mean, we just kind of started like,
Me and Matt kissed, and
yeah, that's
rest
really
is
that was really the thesis of everything.
Yeah, that's how
No,
it
but
started.
like 4.5 years ago, Matt came to my house and we were having an awkward birthday party for somebody, and I was socially awkward, and so was he. And I was like, "Hey, want to sit in the corner and do nothing?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then after that, we just like got together to randomly jam, and like 3 times a year, maybe for a couple of years. And then one time we were like, "Want to make a band?" And
Yeah,
It's
I brought
pretty-
a 6-pack.
yep, yep.
That always
Usually,
helps.
like, when that situation kind of happens with me, like I'm socially awkward. You are too. You want to like go in the corner and like play with each other's pee-pee parts.
Whoa.
So
okay,
Kellen will
That
not be
escalated
having a
quickly.
refill. And,
I'm moving over here.
I don't think that's any
Private
safer,
parts.
to be
Private.
honest.
How do you think me and Kellen met?
Woo, you just got sandwiched into something you weren't expecting.
So basically,
sound
yeah.
pretty
So
sure you're used to that kind of thing? Just
one
saying.
New Year's Eve, I drunkenly wrote lyrics to this song that would go on to be called Alabama Blues. And Matt was telling me like how he had a bunch of really cool music that he'd been writing and hadn't really put anything to it, and he wanted to do something with it. And so, in my drunkenness, writing this song, I'm like, I'm gonna get a hold of Matt and see what he thinks of these. And I sent him the lyrics. I was in my feels. He sent me the music. He's like, I think this would be great. And then we kind of just carried it out. And,
And then boom.
yep,
Boom.
yep.
Well, we finished the song, and then I messaged Michael, and I was like, "Hey, do you think this needs any lead on it?"
Yep.
And he said, "Well, there's already a little in there, but," he's like, "I got an idea."
Can you do the wink one more time? Okay, perfect.
And then I was like, "Well, do you want to lay it down?" And he was like, "Hell yeah." So we laid the track down.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when was it that you originally contacted me about just producing an EP?
Yeah.
Yes.
That because you knew the work that I had done, producing bands and my own bands and stuff.
Right.
And I think that's where I got involved originally. Was I think you guys both were just like, hey, would you be interested in like recording an EP? And I think at that point you were just talking about doing it as a just like all acoustic, like
Yeah.
just YouTube.
Just
based.
us. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then it was like the 3 of us got together to start laying down stuff for Alabama Blues.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, well, what do you think? I was like, what do you think about like adding in a little bit of drums here, and then maybe some bass, and we just kind of built off of that. But really, I think
Yeah.
it all really centers around Alabama Blues. Like
Yeah.
that was kind of what brought all of us together first.
Right.
Nice.
The blues started it all, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking blues.
Fucking blues.
And yeah, so then we then we got together to lay down the vocals, right? And that was just us, the three of us at the time, because Michael had already recorded his part.
Well, no, because
Michael Michael wasn't there the day we laid down the vocals, I don't think.
No, I think Michael was.
Grant was there.
Grant was there.
Yeah. And he was like our little like vibe buffer. He
Well,
was
and
there
Grant,
like
Grant ended up helping out a lot with
He
the
did.
production side too, because he recorded a lot of stuff. Because I mean, we recorded that EP basically in 2 different locations. I mean, we recorded it here. You know, most of the guitar stuff was tracked here.
Right.
And then, like, all the bass and drums and vocals were
Was at your house?
were tracked at my place.
Well, and at the time, Zach was just playing the bass and the drums for us, and then Matt and I were talking one day, and we were just like, "Yo, like, why don't we just bring Zach on as like a part of the band? Because, like, you know, like you were already so involved and you already knew everything." And so then we brought Zach on, which, like, when we asked you, you were like, "Well, I already kind of feel like it anyway, like part of the band anyway, so whatever." So that was like not a big thing, and then yeah, I grabbed Kellen at a library one day, and
Yeah, like, I think kind of stemmed from talking with Michael, and Michael had talked to me about, like, especially like the day
Might have
that.
to give him a little volume.
Yeah, all 3 of these might need to
Yeah.
go up a bit.
I feel like all the mics
Like-
are really low other than
These
theirs,
are,
but you know.
I kind of have a like.
is it because my voice carries?
No, it's not.
This has the
No,
weight
it's just because
profile.
that condenser mic is so fucking
Yeah.
loud.
My dude.
So,
But, yeah, that's a little
He
bit.
might need more gain.
so Michael
Oh.
talked to me.
Gain for days.
We
All
were
the way
doing.
up the top. There you go.
What was that?
So we did the podcast about Rose
Yeah.
Family, like, and we had a great
Oh, that
time.
shit show.
I turned this one.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I fucking loved it. I don't
Yeah,
care
that was awesome.
how it was received, but
I got fucking hammered.
before, like right before.
I was watching it at home. It was great,
Yeah.
like being on the outside and watching it at home because I was like, "Oh my god!"
Dude, I got hammered.
So yeah, before that,
So many F bombs.
Before that, Michael had talked to me about. He was like, "I'm gonna go do some stuff with Matt." He was like, "Do you want to come? Like, I kind of want your opinion or whatever." And I didn't come. Then we did that podcast, and I had a lot of fun. And I had heard you, and I had already heard you from high school, like just singing in class before. And I knew you were a good vocalist.
Rough. Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, well, you were good.
Oh, thank you.
So
It was just rough.
unless you didn't practice, like maybe you're still the same good, but I'm pretty sure you're better. And then I talked to Michael, and I was like, I actually really would like to do this. It's been a long time since I've played in a band, and kind of wanted to do it. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I asked, and then I got in.
And then I came to Red Lobster one day, and you were working, and you were like, "Hey, I'm in your band."
You actually came into Red Lobster like the very next day.
That was the day it was
next
decided. I thought it was like that day or the next day. And you just like come up and you're like, "Hey, are you Jennifer?" I'm like, "Yep." And you're like, "I'm in your band," and I'm like, "What's up, man?"
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. So that's that question.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice little history about you guys. So, how was it actually getting into the studio? How'd the process go to? Because we heard a lot about
Studio?
Alabama. The
Studio?
studios. Like,
Studio.
studios. We heard a lot about Alabama Blues. What about like some of
Wanna
the other
see my
tracks on the
studio?
song? How did
Well,
Well, do
How
you
did
wanna,
those come
Do you want to
about?
hear? You want to hear Alabama Blues?
Do we want to
sure,
hear it? Do we want to hear
sure.
the song?
we could absolutely hear the song?
This is Alabama Blues, or like I like to call it, the
Sweet Home
bluesies.
Alabama Blues.
Michael's been dying to put that riff into the song.
All right, we're gonna switch over and check out Alabama Blues.
Hell yeah.
I stepped off of a train, a hypothetical part of my mind
fucking teamwork.
That's fucking teamwork, my dude. That's why
What's your
we're.
favorite position?
All right.
That's cool with me. It's not my favorite, but I'll do it for you.
What's your favorite dish?
Oh my god.
So that was Alabama Blues
Not
Yeah.
gonna get
by
back.
these
Order
fine
from
people. joining us.
Zanzibar.
Zanzibar.
Getting all crazy up in here.
Yeah, it's getting
All right.
cray-cray.
They're getting
Yep.
crazy.
Are we
I
playing?
feel
Are we listening to
normal,
all the
almost.
songs? Are we doing the whole thing?
We
God.
might.
I mean,
Do it, storyteller.
Oh,
Yeah.
Storyteller edition.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
God.
What was the next one?
Like James Taylor.
The
Wait,
next.
what are we doing? Oh, like stories about the songs or something?
Yes.
I think that would be wise. Somebody asked me today, what is that song Realizations about? And I'm like, that's a good question.
It's about realizing shit.
Wait,
When I realized, when she realized she had a vagina.
Oh, Kellen, what would I do without your realizations about my personal life?
Oh yeah, Michael had to leave.
Yeah, we're missing a person now.
Yeah, he got called out.
Yeah.
I'm
Um,
trying to fill 2 parts.
He went to Thailand.
That's
That's
all
all
we're
we're
gonna
gonna
Yeah.
say.
That's all
Oh
we're
my God, we just said that at the same time. We do that sometimes,
Five.
but not as much as we do.
Yeah.
We do that a lot.
We're not allowed to say anymore.
He went to Thailand, specifically to Bangkok.
See, now the cat's out of the bag.
Nice.
So moving on to the next question.
Yeah,
Let It
so-
Take You Away. That was the next
Yeah,
song.
let's-
What was
yeah.
the next question? What?
So Let It Take You Away was the next song.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
We're
like,
doing storytellers.
Yeah.
now.
Okay, so what is it about? I'm assuming.
Yes.
Okay, so
And how'd that come about?
So when Matt had sent me the music for Let It Take You Away, I had actually heard it a couple months prior because he was like, hey, I have this song, check it out, because he would usually send me stuff that he had written, and I thought it was really beautiful. And when he told me that I could write to it and that we were going to use it as a song, I was really struggling with anxiety really bad at the time and a lot of depression. And so when I was writing the song, it kind of all just came to me because of what I was going through. And I was just kind of thinking, like, I want to try to help somebody else who feels this way that doesn't have the support system I do and feels alone, to know that that's not the case. And that's basically what the song's about, is because not everybody out there has a family or a best friend or anything, or even an animal or something that makes them feel not by themselves. And I just kind of wanted the song to help somebody. And I just kind of wrote about my experience with the anxiety and with the depression and the mood swings and all of that, which unfortunately, as I'm learning, people deal with a lot. So it's pretty much where that song came from, and it's just all basically based on the idea of it never fully goes away. Those things never just go away. But it's about the little victories of overcoming it day by day. And so yeah, that's the whole song in a nutshell.
Is that the one with the Fleetwood feel that I had? Maybe Matt.
I think you said This Is Happiness was the Fleetwood
Is
type
that
of
the
vibe.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wondered, like, what inspired you as far as for that, like, writing those guitar riffs? Because when I started doing the production side of it, like, if you remember originally, I had thought about, like, expanding it a little bit more,
Right.
and we were talking about possibly putting in some strings and stuff, and, like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
that's
remember,
right.
like, I even wrote some string arrangements for it, but I felt like just it had so much more power, like, just as the guitars and her voice.
Yeah.
Like, it was, it really, I felt pushed the message home more. But I've always wondered, like, what it was, because, I mean, you had it for a little while.
Yeah.
So is that the finger picking song?
Yeah. There's two of them.
Yeah, it's,
So the other one's the Fleet. the
Yeah.
one-
Let It Take You Away, I think, is the more intricately finger-picked one, though.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's more
Yeah.
constant. It's so there's like very little breaks in it.
mm,
But I don't know what, where the inspiration came from for that one. I think a lot of times I just come home, from work. Sometimes days are shitty, and my outlet is music. So either I'll write music, or I'll listen to music, or I'll watch live concert performances. Just something to take the mind off of
For a
it.
second, I thought you were gonna say watch porn music videos.
It'll never get too heavy, because Kellen will make sure to bring it right back.
There's gotta
But-
be some light to it.
Of course.
I think it was just inspired by, just being sad. I guess I don't know.
Sorry.
You know, adult life
Yeah.
sucks sometimes, and
For sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's true.
then there's some days where you're just really down, and then there's some days where you're like, this ain't bad.
I got it.
So I think maybe a lot of the inspiration came from something like that. I know when I started writing it, usually when I start writing a song, I can only get like, you know, the first little bit, and then I'm usually stuck. And sometimes it's just there for a while. I think I had that one, like the beginning part, for a long time and didn't know what to do with it. And then just came home one day and knocked it out. And I remember sending it to you, and you were like, "Is this what I think it is?"
Yep.
And I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you from the production side, like, because I had we had just done Alabama Blues. I think pretty much the track listing for this EP is pretty much the order we recorded it in.
Yeah.
Ironically, it just kind of ended up that way, roughly. I think we might have moved a couple of them, but I remember just hearing that guitar riff. I hadn't heard it yet, and she brought it over when we were working on Alabama Blues.
Yep.
And it was one of the times when it was just the two of us tracking some
Yep.
vocals. And so you hadn't sent me the guitar track for it yet, but she had it. And so she was playing it, and she started like singing the first few lines of it, and I was just like, what are we doing with Alabama Blues? I mean, I love Alabama Blues, but
No, I
holy
completely-
shit.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like every song that came after Alabama Blues, I felt less and less like, I don't know, I felt like when we had Alabama Blues, I was like, this is it. And then every song that came after, I was like, no, this is it.
Oh, yeah.
This is it. But, yeah, I'm sorry, I was reading.
Oh yeah.
Kimball.
Shout out Kimball.
Oh, yeah, that's Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Kim.
Oh hi.
oh, hi, Kim.
What is when you try to bring the band together and stuff? Inspirational. Well, I guess I can't really take credit for bringing the band together, because I honestly feel like we all kind of came together organically. I don't feel like anybody
Yeah.
had like
Yeah.
that gravitational pull. And hi Roland, love you. That's awesome. And the overall inspiration behind the songs for the whole EP, every single song is about something that I've lived through in my life. And you'll hear a little bit about each song, you know, and that'll kind of help explain it more. But basically, the overall vibe is just to be as real as possible. And I know people say that, and that's really worn out. But, like, I can only write about things that I've personally experienced or things that I've personally felt. Otherwise, I feel inauthentic. So my biggest goal was to put out something as relatable as possible, because people out there, they want to hear raw, real emotion. But you have to walk that fine line of not being too heavy and people feeling like they can't listen, because then that's all they're thinking about is their problems or their issues. And then also writing the other side of the line of be true to yourself, and who I am as a person is just really emotional. And so I kind of use the songs as an outlet for that. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I totally agree with like your position on that. Like, you gotta have like kind of a not censorship, but like you gotta have like a dull, like a dimmer,
Yeah.
but still say what
Try moving that mic a little.
still say what you mean to
There we
say.
go.
Yeah.
But
Right.
sometimes you need a dimmer so you don't make somebody misunderstand your lyrics for something darker. than
Well, and
what
that's
it is.
I always thought that was kind of the beauty of music in general, and poetry and writing things like that, is that it's all still kind of up to the person listening to it to interpret it in their own way. Everybody's going to kind of take away from it something different.
Right.
And even if you come right out and say this is what it's about, somebody's going to take something else from it, and that doesn't mean they're wrong.
It's all
you
about
know?
perspective.
Exactly.
I was just gonna
Which
say
is
it's all about
awesome, and that's what
perspective.
that's
Just
what's
like
so cool about
turning
art
Japanese.
in general. Yeah, every aspect of art has everything about art is perspective. Somebody could draw something and you could see it from your perspective, and then you could hang it in an art gallery, and thousands of people that walk by will always have their own.
It's kind of like
perspective.
those weird Facebook things you see. You're like, what is the first thing you see in these pictures? And it's supposed to, like,
It's blue
Yeah.
and it's gold.
it's like, do you see tree roots or do you see ducks? It's like, and then there's always some like, weird explanation of what things are supposed to mean. So, just like you said, people interpret things differently.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody perceives something different.
that's the same
Art
across.
is totally
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the same across
Yeah, the
like
beholder.
visually and
Yeah.
hearing
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and like I don't know about smells. I think smells they stay the same.
Yeah,
but
smells are like
I mean,
Smells are on their
farts
own.
are
some
pretty much
bands-
farts.
Some people
Farts
love
are
farts.
farts.
I was gonna say, like, some bands will intentionally be like really vague about what their songs are about,
Right.
and I feel like there's a place for that too in some instances.
Yeah, that's a major label.
But like, I personally like being able to hear what the writer's perspective was,
I like that too. I like being
And
able to
then-
explain that. Yeah.
but having at the same time a realization that like that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what it has to be.
No, absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
And even for me as a songwriter, I've always kind of strived to write, especially lyrically, that way. You know, to write something that means something to me, but could mean something to somebody
Right.
else.
Right.
And that's a hard thing to do, to not be selfish, so to speak, with your music, because it is yours, but you want to make sure that it's not just related to such specifics that no one else could connect.
Eric Walden on YouTube. What's the next step for the band? Any
What's
live
up,
shows?
Eric?
Hey, Eric,
Why don't we
what's up,
answer
man?
that live show question after we hear this next song?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's
I
let
can't
it
read
take
that
you
far, so
away.
yeah. Let this take you away.
Yeah.
So we're getting to like my favorite song.
Yeah.
All right, so
Yeah.
here's Let It Take You Away from the Post Traumatic.
I'm the waves crashing down on this mess I've made. Take me away. I wanna sink without the hope of being saved. I'm the face of this hurricane. It has my name. I'm the dark, ripping contrast and lines apart. I think I'm gonna stay. Who really needs the sun to shine through anyway? I put my white flag away. My heart decays. Lost in this moment, no words are spoken. I've become this broken, no one can save me tonight. Salvation's fleeting, my head and my heart competing. I keep repeating, take me away, let it take me away. Sinking down, no one out here can see me now. That's how it's gonna stay. I can't just hope a hero's gonna come my way. I'd fight him anyway, to my dismay. My lungs are drowned. I'm filling up with all this fear and doubt. How can I walk away? I'm the star in this emotional ballet. Watch the twists and turns I take. The ground begins to quake. Lost in this moment, no words are spoken. I become this broken, no one can save me tonight. Salvation's fleeting, my head and my heart competing. I keep repeating, take me away, let it take me away. It feels like a weight has pushed me down. I've accepted the fact I'm going to drown. I've sworn off any hope of making it now. I start to settle into the fate that I've found. Something inside me shifts somehow, and through the glare of the sun I can see the clouds. I remember that I'm the warrior now, and I can only be what I will allow. Living in this moment, all my words are spoken. My mind is open, I'm gonna save me tonight. Fear is retreating, my head's clear and my heart is beating. I see the light, so I start reaching. Take me away, let it take me away. Let it take, oh, let it take me away. I'm the waves.
We're back.
Hey, we
Yeah.
back. Hi.
Yeah.
All right, so that was "Let It Take You Away" there by these fine people, the Post Traumatic. We had a question before we heard that song about live shows.
I got a strawberry up
Oh,
the
yeah.
straw.
So yeah.
Better than the butthole.
That is true. The last time a strawberry went up my butthole, I was a very disgruntled person. I just like the
It's
taste
so-
of strawberry. I don't actually really always like them when they're like
In your butthole.
In your butthole.
I haven't
gummy
seen-
bears in the butthole are fine. You know
Oh
that.
God.
No, it's
I haven't seen Eric in so long. I miss that dude.
What is going on YouTube? I was not. Wait, so that's
Like,
separate.
are you
from
talking about
mine.
Eric?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dude, he works with my little brother Hunter.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
He's my little brother, but he's taller than me.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So live shows.
So what's up, dude?
Did?
Yeah.
Well, we had
Yeah.
a live show that unfortunately
Yeah.
we had
It's
to
my fault.
back out of.
And
Yeah,
due
we
to-
are, which we're totally fine with because we value the
Yeah.
you know, the what is the word I'm looking for?
Carpal tunnel.
We value the use of Matt's hand because it's not the only thing he uses it for. So most people need hands to live.
This is my finger picking hand.
Yeah. So
That's fat
yes, we
Amongst
were.
other
things.
We were.
Yep.
You're gonna be body casted, like hand casted, like.
I thought about just taping
Oh
one
my
to it and
God.
going
And all you can do is
like
shred.
this. All you could do is shred.
First of all, let's just direct all of our eyes to that last.
Oh my
comment.
God. Someone said ball.
Can we
Kim
talk
has
about
been
anal?
dying to talk about anal.
Who's a Nell?
I don't know her. Never had her. Just kidding. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So we were scheduled to open actually, Not Your Father's Hardcore Festival, but then with the Matt's injury to his wrist, we decided it would be best, obviously, to just not do that because we didn't want to make it any worse. So, going forward,
We were gonna play some songs tonight, but
yeah.
same reason.
Yeah. So going forward,
Lame.
though, we plan to do some like pop-up acoustic sets,
Yeah.
also some like live shows, maybe some coffee shop shenanigan shindig things.
How
Open mic
about that
nights.
unexpected show
Oh, the open mic
performance
night.
that you did?
Oh yeah,
Talk
we did
about
do an
that.
open mic on Ben's birthday. We were out for a bar crawl, and we just happened to be at the Knickerbocker, and they were doing an open mic, and Matt was like, "Well, I don't have my guitar," and I'm like, "Oh well," and then.
This guy was like, "Here, use my Martin."
No, what really
Really?
happened? What really
That's
happened?
what happened?
Well, we were, no,
No.
what happened was we were sitting there, and
It-
Alex was like, "What
It
happens
was a
if?"
Taylor.
She was like, "What happens if you don't have a guitar and you want to play?" Like really loud, which was super unlike her. And I was like, "What
I
are you
would go,
doing?"
beep, 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 dope, beep, doop.
And they were like, "Yeah," they were basically like, "Yeah, you can use our guitar," and they let him use the guitar. And she was like, "All right, well, they want to sign up," so we signed up. We were super like, okay, like, all right, like you.
And immediately, like the guy finished playing the song. He's like, "All right, up next." And I was like,
Hi, Roland, love you too.
Isn't that feeling
"Yeah."
horrible?
Well, that was the first time like I played on a stage in front of a crowd in like 12 years.
The only thing
Yeah.
I remember is you going,
like
"Where do you
the
turn on the
first time.
volume? Where do you turn on the volume?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't even know what my
Well, I
name
mean,
is
in
right
his
now."
Yeah.
defense, it was in a really
Like-
weird spot.
Yeah, it was a Martin, and it had two knobs, and they were like on the inside of the sound hole.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was really weird.
And I'm like, why isn't it? And he's like, turn it up.
Like,
I
right at it.
am.
I'm trying to.
like right by the bridge or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's That's
You had to like get all up in there.
So we played "This Is Happiness" because, which you'll hear more about what that song is about later, so I won't spoil it. But yeah, we played "This Is Happiness" for a specific reason, and then everybody acted like they wanted more because I was like, "Well, we're gonna get on out of here," and they were just like,
No more.
"Nah, no, don't you do that." And
Nah, no.
that was my Christopher Walken. Nah, no.
No.
Yes, there it is.
No.
So then we played "Let It Take You Away," which I was
somebody
like.
take that mutton and stick it up your ass. 5 years.
So we played "Let It
Talking
Take You
about
Away,"
that.
and that was pretty much it. We just played the two songs, and people were like randomly like, okay, so when I sing, whether it's
Wow.
at like a sketchy bar or like at a show, I like black out when I sing. I like don't really hear applause or like whatever's happening. I'm just like zoned out. Well, then like my
Oh, so you're like a heroin singer. Where like every time that I would play on stage, I would be like a meth player where my leg would not stop moving. Like and I'd have to try to.
So
I'd
that
have-
was Matt.
I'd have to try to find
my leg
a
was
way
like-
to keep moving, either keep moving or find a way to
Yeah.
plan it where it can't move.
Just lock it in.
That's
yeah,
really,
so
really
not
hard to
really
do.
anything like heroin, but
Well, no,
yeah.
you say blackout. Like everybody experiences like that on stage thing is very, very
Yeah.
like
So
like drug like.
So apparently
Yeah, you have
people
to
were like
experience
taking
it.
pictures and videos during, and I guess what I was getting at is like we didn't really realize that at all, and so like we realized that later, and yeah, people dug it. They thought it was cool, which was awesome because we did not plan to do it at all.
And then a few days later, like pictures surfaced online.
I like wake up to these
Yeah.
texts from Matt, and they're like horrendous angled pictures of me, and I'm like, oh, sick! Like, what's happening? And he's like, these were on the internet. Hey, if you're watching this and you took those pictures, you're an excellent photographer. It's me, not you. But yeah, that was hilarious to me. And yeah, so I don't know, it was cool.
I saw him. I was like, what?
Don't sell
There's
yourself short,
pictures?
Jen.
What?
I said don't sell
I thought you
yourself
were gonna
short.
like go somewhere with that, and you didn't, and I'm just
No,
like, okay.
I'm just like, come on.
All right. Well, anyways, so yeah, so that's
So we're
cool.
gonna
Okay.
keep moving through the song
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Up
So
next is
uh,
hunting season.
Hunting season.
So-
Hunting season is probably some of the most fun I
Yeah.
think that I had during the process of this
This
because I got it. I didn't even before Jen had anything at least sent to me as far as rough ideas of what you were gonna write for it or anything.
Uh-huh.
All I had was just what you sent me.
Yeah.
Just this guitar riff, and I was listening to it at work, and I immediately had this like drum beat in my head and this bass idea where it was like it took it in a completely different direction from like if you just were to hear like the guitar tracks, like the guitar track by itself, and then hear it with what I came up with for the drums and bass for it. It was like it took it in a completely different direction. But then when you started writing lyrics for it and stuff, it was like, oh shit,
God.
like, and I think lyrically it's probably one of my favorite songs on
I
this.
can, yeah. Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how to go about explaining this song. I was actually going to be like, let's buzz in you for this, but
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
For hunting season? As far as-
yes.
I think
Well,
it needs
I
to
mean,
be.
I think we laid the guitar first, the guitars
Yeah.
first, and then
yeah.
we sent you the drums, and you tried to put lyrics to it.
I tried to put lyrics to it, and I'd come up with like a couple lines of the verse, and I'd send it to Matt, and he was like super supportive about it. He was like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. And I'm like, I'm not feeling it. Like, it's not where it needs to be.
And I said, why don't we wait till we put the drums to it? Because it could
Yes.
change the whole vibe.
And then
of
it
the
did.
song.
I came into Zach's one day with like, you know, my snacks and my other things, and I'm like, yeah. And I get there and I hear the song being played, and I'm like, okay. Like,
Well, I think I had already sent it to Matt at that point before
Yeah.
you.
I just hadn't
you
heard
hadn't
it.
heard
Yeah,
it
yeah,
yet.
Because I was starting to get sick, but I wasn't like full blown sick, so I hadn't got to hear it yet. But yeah, basically, the lyrics for that song they just kind of, you know.
I mean,
How?
it's really about, at least to me, I always took it as it's about like moving on beyond any adversary, like any kind of like anybody that says you can't do it,
Yeah.
you're no good at what you're doing, or why are you doing this? Like I've heard that before a lot. Like why are you doing this with music? Why are you doing this? Like what's the point? You think you're going to be some big rock star? And it's like, no, it has nothing to do with that. It's because it's something I love doing.
Right.
You know, and it to me, when I first started hearing the lyrics and like you what you were doing with it, I was just like, oh man, this is sassy as fuck. Like this is like you know, no, like I'm going on with what I want to do, like, and.
That's actually, thank you for that, because that's a really good way, because I was struggling to figure out how to explain it. This song is probably the most personal, I guess I could say, to me. And that's why it's a little rough, like, how to explain it, because it's about something very personal, but I always want to try to find an appropriate way to explain my songs, because obviously, again, not every person's going to relate to the personal reason behind the song when it gets to a certain degree. So that was a really good way to explain it. But yeah, definitely, kind of like piggybacking off of what Zach said, like, it was basically... like in the face of somebody who tells you that you cannot do something or that you're not worthy of doing something, it's basically a giant screw you, because like those people don't really matter in retrospect. It's all about you and your willpower to continue going forward at your own pace. It's never going to be the way that you really want it to be. It's going to have some bumps in the road, but yeah, that's what hunting season is about, is basically like, I know you're out there and I know you're working against me, but when hunting season rolls around, what's good, Miley? Because it doesn't really matter. You know? You know what I mean?
Did you just call out Miley?
Miley Cyrus, I love you, but I had to use that. Yeah, I don't know.
I will say that probably the people that have things that are figured out ahead of time and they work out perfectly, not always, but like they probably have worse lives.
Oh yeah, I mean
we do, like in terms of like happiness,
right?
Yeah,
whatever, right. Yeah.
I mean, you can really only know what happiness is if
I
you've
enjoy a
had
good sandwich.
sadness.
Oh, exactly.
Sandwiches.
So I mean, you have to have one to have the other, unfortunately. So like the people that have it well off are more likely to live shittier lives, unfortunately. Like, I mean, you can't just have everything handed to you and expect to have a good life.
Yeah, and sometimes the people that do have everything handed to them, like seemingly everything's perfect, bet it's not.
No, their mental state's probably more fucked than ours is. To be honest,
or maybe it's just Illuminati.
But yeah, so that's pretty much like a round table explanation of the song.
I think when I had to look back at like what was my favorite track on the EP, like hunting season's up there.
Yeah.
Like
recording it was fun as hell too.
And,
like I loved the recording process.
Yeah, and I think vocally for you, like the thing that I loved the most, like in the recording process, was like this was you like kind of coming unhinged in a good way.
Yeah.
Like there
really
was
letting loose. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there's you'll hear it when you hear the song. Like there's parts of it where I was just like, we would sit there recording it, and I would just be like, fuck. Like,
fuck you, man. No,
wow.
fuck me. Like,
and I mean, it's true. And I mean, I don't know. I'll bring it up now since we're about halfway through the EP, but most of this EP, Jen's vocal takes are single takes. Most of it. Like, we're not talking like most studio situations where you're multiple take after take after take to get the best one. It was when we started laying down vocal tracks, it was like, we're gonna start at the beginning, and she's like, I want to see how far I can go before I mess something up or before something
just wrong. Like Eminem.
And it as a producer, I love that because it gives it a more real live feeling. So, you know, you get your natural breaths, you get all of those things. And this song in particular, like, I just remember sitting there with my headphones on, looking at my monitor while she was behind me, like, doing her vocal tracking, and I'm just like, fuck. Like, I can't wait until people hear this. This is like, because it was a side of your voice I hadn't ever heard before.
Yeah.
Like, you being more
it's real when I get up into that full voice vibrato, I guess you could say, instead of like I like to play around with my falsetto because it's easy. But when you got that big bass mouth open note you got to sing, that's when you're like, okay, I'm gonna be like Jessica Simpson level making weird faces.
He's talking about that note that's like,
yeah, that's the one. I don't know. So yeah, definitely, that's the first song where I was like, okay, this is balls to the wall, like, cause it like had to have that punch to it, and you'll understand when you hear the song. But like lyrically, and I think you're the one who had told me that, you were like, you can't piss around with it, you can't be delicate with it, like you've got to go balls to the wall.
Yeah, because all three of us, I remember at one point were together while you were recording some of the takes for this.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
because
Matt
I remember,
was there, yeah.
because I remember Matt and I were both saying that, like, because you were trying to experiment with more of kind of, I guess you could call it more dynamic, But I was like, I feel like what you're saying lyrically at this point, you need to just let it out. Like what you're feeling in there,
Yeah.
like
And then
has to come out.
You gave that
like-
idea, and then Matt kind of came in with the idea of, okay, why don't you take wanting to do a falsetto and kind of do a build, kind of peak the last note at the beginning with a falsetto and then let it climb. And between those two ideas collectively, we came up with what we have now.
Yeah, and I-
First thing, I feel like the fourth member of the Ghostbusters, and I feel like Winston right now because I don't have.
Yeah, you're like
I'm not.
with you being like
I just came through smoking a cigarette on the interview. Like, hey, you need to do that.
Yeah, because we totally like. I mean, by the time you came in, this was all already done. So like,
Nah, but I already I had heard Jen and I knew that she's a good vocalist, but it's been so much time since.
Oh
then.
yeah, I'm talking
So-
like back to homeroom. That's how long it had been. Like
Yeah,
a long
kinda,
time.
like, so then I heard the shit and I got with Matt in this very same room,
Yeah.
and I was like, damn, dude, she got really good. And I was like, damn, Matt, you got a lot better.
Yeah.
Damn guys, shit's
so I
popping
think we
off.
should like
Damn,
stop
y'all.
talking and just like rock this shit.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
befo-
yeah.
Before we,
Before we rock the shit.
Before we rock,
I was reading the comments over there.
I saw it earlier, but I was like, do we want to try to touch that now, or do we want to kind of come back to that after
Oh, that
we
question right there.
Yeah,
I
I feel
think that
like
should wait till after this.
after
song,
we
yeah.
played the rest of it, so
Alright.
everybody can kind of have an
Yeah.
idea of like the whole thing.
Eric said he really enjoys the music.
well,
Thanks, Eric.
Well, yeah,
Is
because
this the last one that you're?
I'll be at the next show.
Appreciate
Yeah.
it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks,
yeah,
Eric.
because I feel like that's something that should be brought back up at the end when everybody else can
Yeah.
hear it. Because if
Yeah.
you go into it now, it may be a song that you guys agree on that hasn't been played
Yeah,
yet.
I
Exactly.
agree.
Like,
That's
oh,
a good.
exactly.
Okay.
That's why I was thinking I would want to wait to answer that until we get done playing the rest
We
of
will
these
come back
songs.
to that question though, because
Yeah.
that's a
'Cause-
really good question. So
It might make more sense
Yeah.
once you've heard them.
I'll wait till I can
Right.
pep cam on a song.
And on that note, we're gonna listen to Hunting Season.
Let's check
So
it.
switch right over there.
Last night I figured it all out. I'm thirsting for some love, but your heart's in a drought. And I checked all the locks on all the doors inside my house. I've been
Oh, there it is.
There we are.
Whoa.
Jen, I
Hi.
think you're an awesome singer, so that's not me mocking you in
Oh,
a bad
okay.
way. That's
Yeah.
me
I
just
got
doing
this.
my best.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay. All right.
Oh, that's okay. That's just fine.
If you ever mock me, I will kill you.
That's fine. Don't be sorry. Be better.
Don't
So, no, not what.
So Kimball wants to know what our most invested songs.
I love how Matt
thought
keeps
we-
calling her Kimball.
It says Kimball.
We'll answer that when we're done.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
we'll do
we
it at the
agree.
end if that's
Yeah.
cool, just so that we can like have a chance to refresh on the songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the next song we got coming up is "This Is Happiness."
Oh, that's a doozy.
This is one of the ones, honestly, that gets stuck in my head the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah, everybody
Like,
said that was like the
and
favorite for a while.
It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, I don't know if it's my absolute favorite song on there personally, but it's the one that I think gets stuck in my head the most. Like,
Yeah.
it's the one. Of course, I heard these songs
A
probably
million
100
times.
times each during the,
Yeah.
the mixing and mastering process.
And I would listen to him too.
But
Just
man,
repeatedly.
Isn't this the one that you wrote in like 24 hours as well?
Yeah.
Like you wrote it in like
'Cause
a
I'm pretty
day's time,
sure
and then I wrote the
all,
lyrics in a
all of
day.
it except the intro, because I was
Because
stuck
I remember
on the
her
intro
coming
for a
to
long
me and
time.
being like, "Hey, this is something Matt's been writing." I'm like, "Oh, how long is this?" Oh, 24 hours, and then like the next 24 hours. She's
well,
like, "Oh,
it
hey,
went
guess
really
what? I
fast
finished
because
the
you
lyrics."
wrote it
Yeah.
really quick, and
He
then
wrote it in a
she-
day. I wrote the lyrics in a day, and it was recorded in one take.
Yeah,
So literally a 3-day process.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
it
came
was done
in,
in one take.
I
wasn't
came
it?
in. You
Yeah.
guys hadn't heard the lyrics yet, and I didn't even let him hear the lyrics, and that was the only song I didn't give him a preview
Right.
to. And I just came in, and we turned the little candle thing on, and we just
Oh,
did the
yeah.
damn thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the candles. She did it in one take, and you turn around, and you're like, "Are you fucking serious?"
That's right. I remember now. I do remember that.
Yeah, and this song was actually.
I remember because I remember I was just like, well,
You're like, what else do you want from me?
are we doing anything else today? Because we're already done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this song, when I heard the song, I'm trying to like take you guys on like a mental journey with me from like how I wrote the song. Like I'm sitting in my room and I'm listening to this song and I'm like, how am I gonna do this song justice? This song is freaking gorgeous, okay? Like I am the biggest like Matt music fan. Like if Matt put out an instrumental album, I'd be like, let's fucking go! Like I'd be so excited. So like Polyphia idea on
There
deck.
you go.
You
So
could
I'm
do
sitting
it.
there and I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure out how to like do
That'd be
justice
fun.
to this song, and I'm just sitting there and I'm just thinking like it's so beautiful, and I think I told you this, like it's so beautiful. I don't want to take away from the music. I want it to complement the music, and I'm like, what could I write about that I feel that won't take away from the music? And the song was just, I don't know, it was like air. Like it was just like floating on air. It was crazy. And Ben was at work and I was at home by myself, and I just started thinking about him and about life and about like our past 4.5 years together. And I just started, I'd already had, now there's like, it's kind of, I'm gonna have to go backtrack. Like I started writing, but then a couple months prior, I had actually written a customized photo caption for my best friend for her Instagram. We did like a photo shoot, and she'll do this thing where she's like, this is what I want. I want this vibe, this vibe, this vibe, and this vibe with this feeling and this feeling.
So
Give me
demanding.
something. And so usually I'll go for Kanye lyrics, but she wasn't having it. So that day I was like, how about I just write you something original? So the sunrise pouring through my blinds, and I realized this is bliss. I had started with, and then I hated 5 a.m.s until I woke up to you, and so on. That part I had written as a caption for her, and she loved it. And I was like, I'm going to keep this for a song. So I had realized that would be perfect for this song. And then I just kind of kept going from there and wrote about Ben and about us, and yeah, came up with the song that way. And
I
so,
remember you and I talking about this too. How you were saying what was cool about you didn't even intend it this way when you were writing it, because you were just kind of writing personally.
I was thinking
But it
about the
was-
things and just kind of writing second
But what's
nature.
cool about the
Yeah.
lyrics, at least to me, it can be taken not just as like a relationship
and that's
point
where I
of
was,
view.
yeah, that's where I was, yeah.
It can go from, any kind of, it could be about, waking up next to the person that you love. It could be waking up to your children. It could be
That's-
waking up
yeah.
to,
To your dog.
Yeah, I mean, it could,
That's
it
where
could
I
be
was
Again,
kinda going
like
from,
that's.
yeah.
Let me ask you something about what's the song called?
This is happiness.
Because if it was Let It Take You Away, I was gonna say something else.
Yeah, so that's
Could
kind
be
of
about sex trade, like a child sex trade.
Yeah. So anyway,
getting
so
real
the
right
song,
now.
yeah.
I waited a minute.
After the song was
waited a
done,
minute.
I had realized that like I had kind of subconsciously written the song about Ben. Like I was thinking about him, but also like when the song was done being written, I was like, oh wow, like I basically wrote this song for him. And then after a while of listening to it, it's funny you mentioned kids, because then I started listening to it and I started thinking about Roland. And Roland is Ben's son, and he has been in my life for the same amount of time that I've been with Ben, obviously. And so I have built a bond with him and love him very much. And I was listening to this song one day, and it made me cry, because I was like, ironically, because I was like, oh my God, like this is like Ben and Roland's song. And so it was a really special moment, because I'd have Roland with me one day. We were out running errands, and Ben was at work, and I was like, do you want to listen to my new music? And he's like, yeah. And we listened to all the songs, and when This Is Happiness came up, I was like, hey, this is you and Dad's song. I want you to know that. And he's like, all right. And I put it on, and he's just like sitting in the back seat, and I see like a little tear on his cheek, and I'm like, oh my God, my heart. Like, it was a precious moment, because I got to explain to him that like, that no matter where life takes him or me or his dad, that like he was part of my happiness, and that was a really cool moment to get to share with him too.
That's so fucking deep. Like,
that's what's fun about
I'm
it.
glad that we're not gonna be videotaping us, or like we're not gonna be recording us while we listen to the song, because maybe I might cry.
So yeah, that's what this song is about. It's and like Zach said, it doesn't. I don't want you to listen to the song and be like, well, I don't know those people, so I can't relate. No, like it's about your happiness. It's about what makes you so happy that it makes you overcome with emotion, and whether that be your dog or your kids or the fact you got some pasta. Like, it's whatever it, honestly, carbs are life. No, seriously, like whatever you want it to be. It's about your happiness and your perception of things. So yeah.
Well, I can't think of a better segue into actually listening to the
Yeah,
song. So I think
that.
we'll just jump right into it.
Hit it.
This is Happiness.
I'm sweating dick sacks over here.
The sunrise pouring through my blinds, and I've realized this is bliss. The clock hands tick away, and I don't even mind. I'm far too content. I hated 5 a.m.s until I woke up to you. Now I'm stuck on those eyes that I'm melting into. This is happiness. This makes me wanna cry. Nothing can surpass this. I'm feeling so alive. I can't believe after all this time, you're mine, you're mine. People come from outer space, and their rockets shoot straight through the sky. When you came into my world, the planets all alive. I hated 5 a.m.s until I woke up to you. Now I'm stuck on your smile that I'm fading into. This is happiness. This makes me wanna cry. Nothing can surpass this. I'm feeling so alive. I can't believe after all this time, you're mine, you're
You know, like
All right.
it's-
Well, we are back.
We are
like
back.
how high can you get?
I'm
Like-
properly air conditioned now.
Yeah, not sweating anymore. huh?
Didn't know you guys could hear that. Hey, I can be raw. I can hang.
Yeah, I mean, look at your shirt.
Yeah, it's raw.
Wow.
I mean, it's pretty brutal.
It's the raw diggity. Yeah.
No diggity. All right.
Oh, man.
So now we're up to realizations.
Yeah.
Is this the last?
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
it.
Oh my
We're
god,
to
the
the
EP
end.
goes so fast.
So is realizations that the one that actually ends with the you on a note?
Alright.
Yep, that's the one. That's the one I did earlier. Like,
Yeah. Oh, I was like, what the hell is he doing?
It
That's
was-
alright though.
wrong song.
Yeah.
Wrong kid. That.
This is the
Wrong
song that I
kid, Dad.
sang
Wrong
with
kid, Dad.
the crazy bronchitis going on.
What was cool though is that like, I mean, those of us that were around you all the time and have heard you sing a lot, we picked up on it. But I've talked to other people that didn't even notice it at all. Like,
Oh,
but
that was sick.
Yeah, but I think it kind of added a little bit of a roughness to it.
Yeah.
And you know, like we've talked about before, like when you went back to like try to redo it, like
I was so dead set on redoing
well, what
it.
was funny, if you remember, Matt, like the three of us were sitting there and she was redoing it, and if you remember, I kept the original take,
Oh yeah.
and then I would kept switching back and
back
forth,
back and forth.
and you could not tell the difference at all. Like it sounded exactly the same both ways, and we're like,
But that time I was struggling to hit my high note, and you're like,
Exactly.
you nailed it with the first one, so if it sounds the same, why not keep it? If it ain't
Exactly.
broke, don't fix it.
Is your phone ringing?
Yeah.
Hey, your
Roland,
phone
I
ringing.
can't FaceTime right
Jeez.
now. I'm FaceTiming with the world. I love you though.
Hey,
But
you
yeah,
tried.
so this song is actually really interesting. This song is really special to me because of the writing process. Dad was visiting,
yeah.
Ben and Zach's dad, and he's from around the Chattanooga area, so it was like a real treat that he was here. And he was staying with us for a couple of days, then he would stay with Zach for a couple of days, and so one of the days he was staying with us, I was home all day, and Ben was at work, and he always brings us a guitar, and we just spent like 15 straight hours listening to music, sharing music. We played some Fleetwood Mac songs. It was sick. And so I told him, I was like, Matt just finished the finalizations or whatever, finalizing on this last song. I need to write it. They're expecting me to record it in a couple days. Like, what do I do? Like, I barely even have a voice. And we just got to talking, and he
You
was
sure
like,
wasn't, what do I do? I barely have a voice.
yes, it was that. It was
She
that.
started with death metal.
It
She
was
was
that.
like,
So-
It's so brutal.
So I was like, what do I want to write about? What do I want to write about? And he and I were talking, and he was like, write about whatever. And
He's trying again.
oh my god. So anyway, I pulled up my notepad in my phone, which is where I kind of like write things on whenever I'm thinking about it. I'll just write it down in my notes in my phone, and I was looking through old like poetry I'd written and stuff like that, and there was this like excerpt of something I had written that said, "I danced with the devil on my lifeless shell," and I read it and I was like, no, and he was like, yes. And I was like, no, and he's like, yeah, like that could be something. And I'm like, okay. And so we just kept playing the music over and over on this giant Bluetooth speaker at my house, and I just kind of went off of that. And then when we finished listening to the song one time, I look over and he has like tears in his eyes, and he's like, I just keep hearing I won't go out like that. And I was like, okay. And I was like, what's
Somebody
crazy?
just crop dust me.
I'm like, what's crazy?
Ghosts.
What's crazy is the fact that like what I was writing about that he hadn't even seen yet was about the struggles of, contemplating thoughts of suicide and like really heavy thoughts. And that was nuts because as I'm writing about that, in his mind he's thinking, I just keep hearing her say I won't go out like that. And so he actually sat there with me through 90% of the writing process that day and sat with me as I was writing that song. And we cried a bunch, and it was really cool. And then I went to visit their mom in Ohio, and he happened to be there, and we surprised him, and I got to show him the unfinished version, and it was just like a whole cool thing. So yeah, shout out him for helping me write this song, because he was really there for like an emotional support too, and he's a songwriter himself, so it was a really big honor to have him helping me with this. And basically this song is just about, you know, like, again, mental illness is real and people struggle with a lot of things like that, and I'm not ashamed to talk about that because that's part of life. And this song basically touches on the fact that yes, those moments can come up and yes, those days can happen, but then you have the realization that you don't want to go out that way and you don't want that to be the ending of your story. And some people, you know, struggle with things like that, and they just need to hear that they still have it in them to say, no, I don't want to do that. That's not what I want. And so that's what the song was written about, basically, because I've had many days like that, and I know people close to me have too. So kind of like an anthem song for people that even if they have like that 1% battery life left in them, they're like, I'm gonna use it because I don't want things to end this way. So that's what the song is about, pretty much.
So that's a great segue, like, for sure.
Well,
but I have to say that, like, I wondered about those lyrics that you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ever since, like, I heard that song. And the dancing on the, like, Dance with the Devil and stuff, like, you know, it's like, like, I heard the come up in the lyrics and all that, like, but I still didn't know where that came from, and now I do.
Awesome.
And I'm in the band.
And from the production side of things, like, it was kind of interesting because we knew that, I mean, this was the end of it. Like, this was the last thing we were doing. And I remember the guitar parts, you know, Matt had sent me without, obviously, because you hadn't written the vocals, lyrics for it yet. And I just got this kind of almost more like almost more of a borderline like reggae kind of vibe from it.
Yeah.
And when I sat down and was doing drum tracks and especially the bass line, because I think this is one of the only songs where like you're gonna have some fun because you get like basically a feature section, like during the verses.
Yeah.
But I remember when because you were there as I was tracking bass stuff for it, because you came over, and I remember that look on your face because you had come earlier.
Yeah.
And you were like, Jen, just listen. and you were just like, oh hell yeah, like this
yeah,
is,
I was
like,
stoked on it. When I heard the full music, I was like, all right, let's go. Like,
yeah,
it was awesome, and it was just really cool. And what's crazy about music is like you can have lyrics that are really deep, and it doesn't have to be sad music. It doesn't have to be like this string music. It can be, and that's very beautiful, but it can also be like that hype feeling, you know. And it was just really cool to be able to blend the two, you know. So it was awesome. The music, on the production side, definitely. Like when I showed up and heard the music, I was like, all right, this is sick.
And for those of you that have an ear, you might notice that this is actually the only song on the EP that actually uses electric guitars.
Yeah. Felt like switching it up.
Yeah. All
Even
the rest
though
of the
Hunting
songs.
Season sounds electric to me every
I
time.
know,
Yeah.
but everything else on the EP is all acoustic instruments except for this song. This is the only one that was like, and there's actually even a little bit of distortion in on it too. Like,
Yep.
Do you remember what I said to you, Matt, about this song? Like when I was in this very room, except for there was furniture in there.
It's a very different room when the podcast is not going on.
This is the pod. It's
kind of like my studio at home.
Yeah.
My
I
studio.
got a little Thursday feel to the
Which
shit.
is crazy because I wrote this song back in 08.
Oh wow! I didn't know you had it that
Thursday
long.
prime time.
So
Yeah.
That
Wow.
is a long
So
time
you were
ago.
heavy. You were. He was heavy into Thursday.
Yeah.
Hey, there's
Weren't
nothing
we
wrong
all?
with Thursday, man.
Uh-uh.
Thursday's great.
And,
Thursday's
like,
awesome.
I just never got into him like
Shame.
super hard. Like I had full collapse.
Collapse.
Like I
Yeah,
had
Full
Full
collapse was
Collapse.
full collapse.
Right.
Full collapse
The
was the one I
shit.
had.
Yeah.
That one was.
Yeah.
After
I
that, they
played that
kinda-
one to death.
They
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of, I don't know. They kind of went downhill after that. In my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
I was kind of a punk, like still like a punk rock, trying to find the punk rock I liked and the pop punk that everybody likes to, you know. Like,
Yeah.
There's what you like, but then you have your NoFX and your Lagwagon that aren't.
Right.
So like that was my time. and Cody Blevins here actually is the person that's partially responsible for me to being into heavy music. So fuck.
Look what you did.
I know.
Look what you
Oh,
did.
I was
could you do
definitely
that?
a metal.
Why?
I wouldn't
Why would
fucking-
you do that?
You're such a
That's-
good
I don't
influence.
know.
That's a shitty way.
Yeah,
of
you're,
living,
yeah,
bro.
exactly. You're
Such a shitty thing to do.
shithead. You're such a good
I
influence.
mean,
God,
like
I'm
the
such an
thing is, like,
asshole.
it is really like a touchy subject when you start getting into like the hardcore, because it's
Yeah.
like
Not everybody.
frowned upon.
Right.
Don't talk
Um,
shit about hardcore.
Well, I went
Yeah, it'll
No.
kick your ass.
I went to Cornerstone before I met Cody, and like that was crazy shit. Because when I met Cody, it was through a different friend.
Yeah.
And then I was music, Cody was music, and like we clashed or whatever. But I went to Cornerstone's Christian. He was like, kind of like not.
way to
So
put
there were,
it.
He was
there were
kind
a
of
lot
not.
of there were a lot of arguments and stuff like early on.
Well, not arguments.
Well, you know,
Well,
You know.
Disagreements? Is that what you want to
Sure,
call them?
Debates.
Anyways,
Yeah,
so
that-
yeah,
that's the correct term.
no,
so
kudos.
The,
Yeah.
We might
This
be
is-
off
this
the
is a-
rails.
Yeah, this is a
Yeah.
different podcast.
We might have fell off the
Well,
rails there.
the thing with
Yeah.
I kind of
There
forgot
wasn't a
that,
rail.
like, with my
This is a
headphones
rail,
on
this
and
show.
a camera at me, I forgot that I was on something.
the thing with realizations is my part in there is very simple, and I kind of wanted Michael to
Shine.
I wanted Michael to shine in
Yeah.
this and showcase what
And
he
he
can
did.
really do.
Like there's some stuff he does in this. That,
yeah, and he rolled with it.
I mean, this was kind of like the idea was like, let's just go all out with this. I mean, not taking it to the heavy extreme like the backgrounds we all have, but like let's take what we're doing with this and amp it up, push it to
Yeah.
like where we step it up a few notches.
So it ends the EP on
exactly.
high
It ends
note.
it on a high
Yeah,
note.
definitely.
That's where my it's
Both
my
lyrically
opinion
and
is,
Well,
like
I
that's
musically.
mean, I
carry
also
on.
feel like that
Yeah.
gives you guys a chance to
to
like
do-
go other places because you
That's
have
the-
like,
Segue
every
into different.
every
yeah.
song
That
is
was the thought,
different.
too.
Well, and
then you end with the banger.
Exactly,
you
because
know?
the funny thing is that with the way that this was being written and recorded, it was like we were saying earlier, where it was like each song was like a step above the previous. It felt like, and it was just like
And each song was
constantly
its
like
own
that.
vibe. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
it got to where by the time we were at the end of it, it's like, man, once we all start actually writing all of this together, because this is primarily, it was mostly the three of us, and then Michael adding
At the same
in
time.
his leads over top of,
Like,
the
start inhaling
the
and then
structure that we had created. And so what was it we were talking about? Like how it was, going forward, it's probably going to sound like a completely different band.
Oh,
Like-
yeah. Yeah.
like because all these other influences that are coming in now. But
Yeah.
so
This
So,
is
yeah.
definitely my favorite.
Oh, really?
track
Is
on
it?
here.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, I don't think there really can be a favorite.
That's
so.
Ben though. Ben will be like, I love everything equally. He'll never
It's-
give you a
it's not even
solid
that, it's
favorite.
just
So
like
thanks
every-
for that.
boyfriend in the
I'd
world.
honestly rather somebody be
It's
like,
not
yo,
even
this
that
is
though,
my
because
favorite.
like to
Yeah,
be
th-
quite
this is
honest,
my favorite.
like I saw all the struggle, at least from her side of things. So like when you're there in the writing process and you see everything the way it is, then
Right.
it kind of changes your opinion
Yeah.
on things.
and you
So,
kind
like-
of live her lyrics.
Oh well, yeah, I guess. I mean, in a certain
I
aspect
didn't
of
know if I
things,
was.
yeah,
but-
some of it.
You live hunting season on a bad day.
well, I mean,
Don't play.
I don't know about all
You can
that.
resonate with that
Don't
song.
play.
Bang 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 bang.
Don't play.
Bang bang. What's
Okay,
the
there's a lot of truth in that, but let's not go into that conversation.
Yeah, that's another podcast. So
Well, should we listen to
Yeah.
the song?
I think we
do
should.
think we should.
Check it.
Yeah.
Bam,
I really think
Get
we
up,
should.
dance a little,
Nationwide
Yeah.
is
Bop, bop,
on
the
your
fowls.
side.
All right, here's
Okay.
Realizations.
By Jake from State Farm.
I danced with the devil on
good opinion, I think.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Wow, you
Yeah.
can really dance.
Yeah, that's good.
You can dance if you want to.
God damn it!
That's
Get out of my
what's
brain.
good.
I was just about to do that.
But if your friends don't dance, then if they don't dance.
Well,
So-
that was that beautiful album.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So,
What was
What's-
okay? What was the question that
yeah,
we
the
wanted
question.
to like?
Kim
What?
wanted to know what is our most invested song?
Yeah,
Like, what do we
right
all
there.
connect with while we were playing it or recording it?
Are we talking like invested in every way, or are we talking like invested? Like, what did we put the most time into?
I
It's
think
it's an
that's-
overall thing.
No, I
I
think
think
it's
it's
just
like,
like-
what have you vested the most?
Like
And
what?
one
Basically, like
time
what
small,
was
like
your
one
guys'
song.
favorite? More or
I
less.
think it would have to be hunting season because we did a lot in that song.
We did because we went back in and added the extras and really took our
Like the
time
claps
with
and
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in emotion wise, she said. Oh,
emotion. Oh, like
Now-
Invested
emotionally.
in, well, and I think we all might have different answers
my
for that.
answer will be
because,
different. What is yours?
Emotionally, I think.
Bitcoin.
God, I don't know. Like, what? Which one am I the most emotionally invested in? I don't know. I mean,
There was you all relate more to.
What song do you relate the most to emotion? Which song are we each most emotionally connected to? Is what she's asking.
I know. That's
So
like,
that can be
I'm
each
trying
of
to
us can
think,
have
like, which-
different answers. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm emotionally connected to all of them in different ways.
Right.
Because you were so involved in
Yeah,
it,
but I mean,
What gets you right in the feels?
the one obviously that like if we're just purely talking emotionally, like what like probably has the most impact is probably This Is Happiness. But that's just because like even, with what you were talking about what the song is about, like that is probably I feel like the deepest
I think
emotionally connecting song for me. I mean, I also
I think the question is, what are you most proud of? Which song are you most proud of?
that's like
Well, I mean, what she was asking is what you were saying. Like, which
Yeah.
song are you yourself most connected
yeah,
to?
I think that
Or more.
I think that This Is Happiness is
Same.
probably the one that I think most people are probably going to come away from as far as in general, just listening to it, saying that they connect to, just
Right.
because you can put that on anyone, that perspective. Yeah.
well, how about you guys?
Matt? Maticus?
I think for me it would probably be This Is Happiness, because when I'm playing it, even just practicing at home, I kind of tend to like move with it, kind of bob back and forth, and it makes me smile. So I think that's the one that I'm connected to the most emotionally.
Okay.
I think I already know what yours is.
Mine's kind of a two-part answer. One part of the answer is going to be which one I connected emotionally the most to while recording, because she did mention that. And the other one is going to be the one I connect to the most outside of that. Now, while recording, that would be Let It Take You Away, which I don't know if that's what you were expecting.
Yeah.
But I cried a lot while recording that song.
That
It
was
was
a
rough.
tough one for I
Yeah.
think all of us to get through, like the recording process of like as far as especially like during the vocal takes,
Yeah.
like during
This,
that like
the spoken word
yeah, and that
is
was
what.
It even took me a while to get through it, like just on guitar.
yeah.
Yeah, and Matt said from the jump, he was like, this song, and not like egotistically, but once we started working on it, he said right away, he was like, this song is going to like do something, like this song is going to like change something, like it's going to do something good. And I agree, and I felt that way too.
Well, people have reached out to you. too.
Yeah, I've actually gotten personal messages from some people that have been like, yo, like Let It Take You Away helped me a lot. This is how.
That's
You
awesome.
know, not multitudes, but that doesn't matter, because I've always said, if there's one thing you guys can probably all remember, one thing I've said through this whole thing is like, my main purpose of wanting to do this is I want to help one person. I don't care how many people. If one person comes to me and says what you guys wrote or what you sang or whatever, it doesn't matter which one of us helped. So Let It Take You Away is probably the most emotionally connected I was while recording, and that is because during the spoken word part, I cried a lot, and I wanted to get the emotion as perfect as I could, which is almost impossible to do because emotion is never going to be perfectly conveyed. But, and then outside of that, honestly, it's changed so many times, but I think I finally settled on realizations myself, and that's because at the end of the song, I say, you know, you're beautiful, you're magical, and everything will be all right. And that is kind of like my, not goodbye, because that's not the word, like my ending to the EP. That's like, if there were any words that I wanted anybody to know as the last part of the EP, it would be, you're beautiful, you're magical, and everything will be all right. Like that. Yeah. That's it. Because we make life so hard, and that's not to say life isn't hard, because trust me, every day is a struggle for us each for our own reasons. And it's easy to be like, oh, everything's fine. But like at the true heart of it, and you get down to like brass tacks, as old people like to say, that's what it is. You're a beautiful person. You're a magical person, and at the end of the day, everything will be all right, whatever way the universe wants it to be. And that's why I wrote it in that way. I wanted that to be the last words that anybody heard coming away from it, if they listened to it in order, of course. And so that is the one that I think I connect the most emotionally to, because I am that nerd that still listens to it in my car. I always will. And when I get to that song, I always have that moment where I'm like, dude, this is my song. Like, this is my song. Like, I wrote these words. Like, I cannot believe that. Like, it's just, it's crazy. I'll never get over it. So I would definitely say Realizations for me.
There's also a line in that song that's hold on, I just had it in my head where you say I think myself into oblivion and I catch it just in time.
Yep.
That's probably one of my favorite lines in that song. You know, because people, you know, we're always thinking, we're always overthink. I know I do sometimes, where I'm like, you know, the ifs and the buts.
Guilty.
And, yeah, guilty.
Yeah.
Quick shout out to Kim Bell for following.
Oh yeah, she's been like hella in the chat this whole time.
Oh yeah.
She's gonna be very happy you said Kimbell and not Kimball, I'm sure.
Shout out to Cody's breath for.
Yeah, sorry.
His Cody's lungs for
said
following.
At one point, it's Kimbell.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was saying I'm sorry.
But no, thank you for being like actively a part of it. That's awesome. And to Eric, of course, for being in the YouTube
definitely.
chat. But yeah.
I mean, as far as like overall though, like I think as far as experiences I've had working with other musicians over the 20 years I've been playing in bands and with dozens of other people, like this has been probably some of the most fulfilling in all aspects, as far as just as a writer, as a producer. Like, what's cool about all of this is, you know, I mean, you know, Jen and I have been pretty close, you know, over the last several years anyways. Mm-hmm. But what was really cool coming out of it is, like, you know, getting to become closer friends with you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Like, getting to know you guys on a whole nother level. And just how naturally it all came together. I mean, with all of us. And at this point, and especially, like, with me doing things musically, I'm at that point where I'm just like, I don't have time to waste on bullshit. Like,
right.
So it's like, if I can connect with somebody naturally and it's working, I'm going that direction. And having worked on this EP, I mean, we took what 2 months, I think.
It was like 2 months
to do it. I mean, we could have done it in less time, but it was like this really fun environment. And it was like this labor of love where, like, we were all, like, so excited to, like, get together every weekend.
Lots of hot box
and
pizza.
It was like hot box pizza
and sketchy Chinese food.
Yeah, and like we would just get together, and it was like we were all so excited to, like, oh, I can't wait till we do this. You know?
Yeah.
And I many messages in my phone back and forth of like, oh my God, is it Sunday yet, or is it Saturday yet? Like, are we doing this? And and
it was like an emotional thing.
Yeah. So in a weird way, it was crazy when we finally finished it, and I sent it off to you guys, and I was like, okay, this is my rough final mix. If you guys have anything to say
it now.
Say it now. And everybody was like, no, I think we're
it's
good.
Fucking horrible.
And then it was like, it was this really weird experience. It was this really weird experience, though, of like,
now, like, it's
done.
done.
We did it.
Yeah.
Like, it's over. Like, we spent all this time working on this and, like, fine-tuning things and, like, you know, I mean, and we barely scratched the surface of a lot of these songs even tonight as far as talking about them. I mean, because we've had super deep conversations about them amongst us.
Yeah.
There was
And-
times where, like, in between takes, we would just sit there and talk for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, like trying to like get deeper into the song, and I think
Yeah.
that's kind of where you get that more authentic feeling out of these songs because we put a lot into it.
There
like,
would be, and I just remembered this, like thinking about the production side of things as far as being in the studio and not just the full finished version. There would be times where I'm not going to get emotional. There would be times where I would go to record a take, especially of Let It Take You Away, especially. And the only way I was able to get through it was because I would look over at Matt and he would just be like somehow knowing that I needed him to just give me that look like, you're okay. You're not, but it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And like honestly, if Matt hadn't been there through that and you hadn't been there to be like an emotional support, I would have completely crumbled doing that song because and I told you guys, it takes so much from a lyricist or an artist in whatever capacity to reach into themselves and dig out that part of them that is necessary to carry out the song. And I had to do that, which is not, I'm not saying like I had to do it, like I was honored to do it, but it drains you emotionally. And like having, you know, Zach and Matt there, there were many times, especially with Realizations when I was sick, I was in a piss mood that day because I always wanted to do my best and I felt that I couldn't.
Did we actually do that 2 different days? Because didn't you try to come in to do it one day and we ended up like scrapping it and being like, let's just
Yeah.
no, because we were working on another song. That's what it was.
Oh,
we were
yeah,
working
yeah.
on another one, finishing that one up, and we went ahead and we're gonna start on that one.
Yeah.
And you were just not.
I was just not
feeling
in the
it,
right vibe
and-
for it. Yeah, and the right mindset at all. And so.
And it was just like we were just like, well then let's just wait.
And we just chilled. I'm pretty sure we just
Yeah.
chilled and watched Toby play Minecraft or something.
Yeah,
Like
I
we
think
did something.
I think we
yeah.
all
Yeah.
hung out for like 2 hours.
Yeah,
Just
oh, yeah.
talking and
Yep.
and you know.
So we were like, so food, like, yeah. So I mean, and that's what's. I just wanted to touch on that is like, it wasn't me coming in and I had it all together and I recorded these. Like, you know, Zach noted that some of these were taken in one take. That's not to
Well,
say that like.
in general, and I mean this is the God's honest truth about this whole EP in general. Most everything you're hearing is single takes. I mean, your guitar tracks you were doing mostly in one take straight through.
Yeah.
Every now and then you might have, you know, a piece that you might want to fix here and there, but it was mostly just straight through recording. And when I did my drum tracks, I did the same thing, bass tracks the same way, and Jen's vocals were the same way. So it's in a weird way, like it's a way that people don't really do recordings anymore. But what was the most impressive about it from my perspective, and I mean I've talked about it, you know, in some other videos, like when we did Alabama Blues, and I did kind of a walkthrough of the production side of Alabama Blues a little bit months ago. But honestly, like as a vocalist, like Jen's fucking incredible. Like I have not
I don't
worked-
even know if incredible is a good enough word to describe it.
it's so easy to, like honestly, like she's so incredibly easy to work with because it's
Because
just
she's
like
fucking good.
it's like we would sit there and like you know you were saying with that one song, it was one fucking take,
Yeah.
like the whole song, and it just blew me away like how easy it was. And you know, a lot of people these days will cheat and use auto-tune and shit on stuff. And I remember I showed you
I
one
know
day
what the fuck
you
you're gonna
came
say.
you came in and I was like, no,
I was like,
seriously,
I sound like shit. I'm off key.
you gotta
Fix it.
you gotta see this.
You're like,
I-
shut up, sit down.
So I grabbed, I went ahead and I dropped Autotune in there. I was like, okay, you want to see what this is? And anybody who's ever used Autotune, there's a
Yep.
little bar there. In the middle, it shows, right in the
T-Pain.
middle is that you're in tune.
Yep.
And it shows if you're sharp or flat. She was bitching about the fact she thought that she was off at all. I threw Autotune on there, and Autotune was basically like, what the fuck are you using me
Yep.
for?
Like, what do you want me
Like,
to do?
it was
fucking
seriously,
awesome.
like, it was not moving at all.
It
It
was
was
just-
like,
And then, of course, me being the brat that I am was just like, all right, well, maybe it's broke. Like, what else can
I'm
we
like,
do?
do I
Like,
need to load up some of my
Sometimes
vocals?
I
Yeah.
think
It's
sometimes
broke.
I think I'm
Download a different one.
spot on my Freddie
So,
Mercury.
so
Yeah.
know that
and
honestly, like,
apparently I'm not.
Download the T-Pain app.
so no, honestly, when you listen to this EP, like that's her fucking voice. Like
Yeah.
that's naturally her voice. Like you're not hearing stuff that's
On
auto
auto-tune.
tuned. You're not hearing like that's her voice.
Well,
Like-
and the main idea that I just wanted to say is just to like finish that thought was just to say that in you guys saying like, oh, she did one takes and all these things, that is not to say that emotionally and mentally I had my shit together when I came in to record, because there were some days it was really, really rough.
Yeah.
Because of course
Oh,
we
yeah.
have our own lives going on outside of it. But to be able to kind of come in and just lay all your shit out with people that are there with open arms emotionally to be like, hey, we got you, it's cool. That was a really big blessing. There were many nights when I would leave and Matt would text me and be like, yo, are you okay? Like, are you good? Like, what can I do? Are you all right? And I'm like, dude, just the fact that you're offering to help out or be there, you know what I mean? Like somebody that's just like, I notice, which Zach would do a lot too. And to have that was really, I could, you know, I can't thank him enough for that, because not everybody has that. Some people have like house bands that they record with, and while that's great, you don't get that same connection. You don't get your guitarist or your drummer texting you afterwards like, hey, I noticed tonight was rough, like how's it going, let's talk about it. You know, you just don't. And so, I mean, there are some like fuckers, but I'm real glad to have them. There's some little assholes, but I love them. So I don't know. I love bands where the vocalist takes a minute and like during like a drum beat or something just introduces all of the musicians, because I hate that sometimes bands portray themselves as vocalists and backup people, and I hate that, and I never want to be that person. Matt is single-handedly one of the best guitar players I've ever known in my entire life. He is insanely amazing. Zach does everything. He does not just play one instrument or the other. He's multi-talented. Michael's multi-talented. Kellen is talented. Like, I just want to make sure everybody knows.
I'm actually multi-talented as well.
He is.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like,
I have a hip-hop career.
So, I just want to note the fact that like all of these guys, they're not just like cookie cutter musicians. They're the real deal, and they have a lot of heart and they have a lot of talent. So, you know, like, shout out them for sticking through this whole EP with me, because it was not easy, you know, but they did it, and it was awesome. So yeah.
And we went into it like with the whole idea. We kind of wanted to try to keep it a little bit raw. Try to keep some of that rawness in there.
And I tried, you know, I really did, like when it came to the mixes and stuff. It was like simple. I mean, most of the songs are like 4 tracks, maybe 5. Like, you know, it's very, very minimalist. Even though some of the songs don't sound that way at all. Right. Like, it really, and I think that's a testament to like Matt's writing ability.
Absolutely.
You are a great mixer too.
Like, man,
that's true.
Just throwing that out.
I mean, after 20 years on the side.
A lot of it's just seriously come from
years.
It's just come from years of experience. But like, you know, having such a good, like, for me, it was a breeze to write drums and bass to, because it was like I had such rich material to work with. So it was like he would come at me with this, you know, basic idea of just this one guitar track, and I could immediately just hear it. Like, oh man, I know what I'm gonna do for this. Like, and it was just so natural. And like, I've worked with a lot of musicians, including even, you know, my brother in this, and he's one of the few people that I can connect with on that level, where it's just like natural, we get it. And but that comes from literally being around each other our entire lives, you know. But to be able to have that same
connection with somebody else
with you guys was, and so quickly, was, you know, which is why I was like, I have to be a part of this. Like, I have to do this.
Well, and from my perspective, you know, I mean, I know you and Matt and Kellen, you as well. You guys have all been involved in, you know, projects in your life, and that I was just like, as a kid, like a little church kid, that the only time I got to sing was in church, and if I wasn't singing the hallelujahs, I wasn't really singing anywhere. And you know, really, not to be like in the fields, but like, you guys were the first people to take a chance on me and actually let me sing my songs. And Matt's music, the music that he had written, because I'm not going to say these lyrics were sitting around in the archives and I'm like, okay, Matt, I guess no, like, he would send me these beautiful instrumentals, and it kind of brought something out in me and made me feel courageous enough to tap into those parts of myself that are really hard to tap into. And you know, you guys were the first people that were like, you're worth it to us. We want to try to back you emotionally enough to say like, hey, this is something, this could go somewhere with all of us. So I'm really appreciative of that, you know, because a lot of people my whole life would hear me sing, and I always joke about it, but people would always be like, you're gonna be famous, let's get you famous, or I have a band, come on, you're gonna get us famous. And then I go to one band practice and never hear back from them, and it's like, I never wanted that. I just wanted a group of people that wanted
You just
to
needed to meet musicians.
yes, I just wanted a group of people that wanted to rise with me wherever that rise was, even if it was to Frankfurt or to Los Angeles or wherever we went, it didn't matter. And
Frank-tucky.
yeah. And so what's cool about it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say is I wanted it so bad my whole life. I think if I would have been afforded that opportunity any other time than now, I wouldn't have been ready, because there's a lot more that goes into it than to just get up and sing. It takes a lot of different things, and I can't say that those things are always on point, but I'm very, very humbled to have that opportunity now, because I feel like it's a small payoff for a lot of the shit I've gone through, and it's a small reward to be able to breathe and be in an environment with people that are truly understanding. Because like I said, not everybody gets that opportunity. So some people work with musicians that really don't care about them, and they're on these big famous high-rise tours. I would rather be where we are, knowing that we all connect. Not that we're any better than other people, but I'd choose that. I'd rather have that. So this has kind of helped ground me and make me feel more humbled, and made me realize really isn't about how far you get. It's about quality over quantity and things of that nature. So I just, and it wouldn't be a podcast with me if I wasn't in my feels. So, you know how it
Are
is.
you gonna do a Drake dance?
A what?
A Drake dance?
In my feelings.
I mean, that's on my Instagram if you want to peep that. So I did do the In My Feels challenge.
Did you?
I did. It was horrendous. It was terrible. I can't Millie Rock to
Try to
save my
play
life.
it off like, did I what?
Yeah.
Did I what?
I mean, I don't know. Coming from the person that lives with her, seeing her through this journey has been like a really cool, amazing thing. Like, 5 years ago to today, it's not even the same. Like, now I'm gonna get emotional. But it's true. I personally couldn't do this just because of the emotions, to be honest. Like, it's hard to be with somebody and write music that's so emotional. Plus, I was in my own thing when this started, so it's a little different. But couldn't be any happier with the people that she's gotten to work with, and the music that she's written. I'm a hardcore kid, but I'm a softie as well. So it's definitely opened her up as a person. I remember like being in the writing process with her, and her just sitting down and like reading all of the lyrics. I'm just like, holy shit, like you're doing this, like holy, like I never thought that would happen. Like I remember pushing her even 5 years ago, like you need to do something with this, and her just being, well, I don't know, and like you put this girl in front of a karaoke machine and she'll just wail for hours, but then you try to get her to do her own damn thing, and it's like, what do I do? And you like draw a blank, but like for somebody that's so good at words, like it's like, you got this, like you have a voice.
Like I struggle, I
Want a rap battle, Jen?
I mean, let's go. Are you prepared to
I was
lose?
gonna say
Are
she
you
would whoop
prepared
your
to lose
ass.
on live? Let's ask somebody else in the room
But-
what happened last time. Challenged me to a rap battle.
They backed down like a little bitch.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
what's crazy
It's
though
true.
is like how quick you are with it. Like,
Oh yeah, it's
And-
nuts.
Yeah, halitosis,
Like-
hypnosis.
but like, because I mean, coming from
Oh,
spending
Jesus and
years-
Joseph.
coming from spending years writing,
I'm a Jim Halpert right now. I'm just like looking at the camera, like, what can I do?
coming from years of like writing my own stuff, like lyrics have always been a harder part for me to do.
Yeah.
Partially because I get too in my own head about it, and I'm like, this is what I want to do, but like I can't figure out exactly how I want to do it. With her, it was just like, I knew that when we might not have even completely had the music finished, and I knew she was probably already gonna have the whole fucking thing written. Like, and it was crazy how fast.
Which is funny though, because I was
Like-
so far from the truth. She'd be at home freaking out, like, "What the hell am I gonna do? How am I gonna
But-
finish this? They need this by this." And then somehow, magically, always the night
Same
before,
homie.
it was like,
Done.
"Oh, I got this." Like, so it's funny how like the whole perception things works is like from your side of things, not seeing it. You're like, "Oh, she's gonna get this. I fucking
And
know
every
it." And then
time
being
I
on the
would,
other
what's
side,
crazy?
it's like, "Oh."
What's crazy is every time I would always finish a song, and I would audio like rough. I would pull it up. I would pull what Matt sent me up through Messenger on my Xbox. I was like real trashy with it. I'd pull it up on the Xbox, pull out the iPhone, record it on there, and do it that way. And every time I would send Matt the like finished first rough take through, I'd be like, well, It's been a good run. I'm gonna mentally prepare myself for him to disown me because he's gonna hate this. This is nowhere near up to par with the music I was given to work with. And then every single time he would be like, "Holy shit, dude, I got chills," or "Holy shit, dude, I'm in love with this." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, what? What? You've?"
You're like,
Yeah, of course, yeah, right. But then I'm
What
sitting there
the
like,
heck?
"Oh my god!" Like he likes this.
And there were so many times during the recording process where Matt and I would be sitting right next to each other, next to the console, while like Jen was off,
with my candle.
in her own little space doing her vocal takes, and we would just look at each other, and we both just mouth like, "Oh my god!" Like, holy shit!
Yeah.
Like this
Sometimes I would be recording and I would open my eyes and like Matt wouldn't even know that I looked at him, and he would just be like, he does this thing where he sits and he kind of leans down a little bit and he stares right at the fucking carpet, and that's his thinking face. And he would do that, and I would catch him.
The zone face.
Yeah.
I would catch him almost like it almost looked like he had tears in his eyes sometimes, and I was just like, I would just open my eyes enough to kind of look at one of you to get that little bit of like, okay, it's okay, and I would catch Matt like that sometimes, and I'd be like, holy fuck, like we're doing this shit, like this is nuts, like.
We
this-
in it.
That's
Yeah.
that's
I mean,
the zone face, dude.
You know,
Yeah.
when you were
Sure.
doing Let It Take You Away, I mean, he and I both looked at each
Oh.
other and we're just like, if this keeps going like this, we're not going to make it. Like,
Yeah.
we're not going to make it through this take without us having to stop because we're all going to be bawling like little
Yeah.
babies. Like,
You crying? No, I'm just concerned about.
There's something in my eye, like a
I'm just
piece of
concerned
dust
about
or a
the toner in the printer.
Yeah, so definitely there's a lot more, and like you said, there's no way that we could cover everything
No.
on this little amount of
Right.
time. And just as much as that's true, also there's a lot of truth in the fact that just who you see on this podcast isn't everybody who went into it. Like, of course, not even just Michael, but like other people in our own lives. We all have significant others, and we have family members and friends,
Right.
and yeah, obviously my best friend isn't on the camera, but I'm gonna shout out her because
Well, I
I would
mean,
send.
she actually
I
is.
would,
She is
well,
actually.
she is.
Yeah,
Oh my
she is.
god,
She's right
she
there.
is.
Where'd you come from?
Okay, I'm gonna get killed if I even pretend she exists right now. So I'm gonna pretend that was a joke. But no, like she was another person I was able to use as a sounding board and bounce ideas off
You
of.
my peekaboo.
And things like that. So another thing we're gonna move past. But yeah, no. So there's no way to fully thank everybody or to like bring everybody on. That each of
So
us
that's
have
why
gotten
you should
some
be
kind
metal
of,
and say "fuck
so-
you all." Good night.
But yeah, so just there's more to it than what we could say.
Like middle
basically.
fingers up. Dude.
No.
Love you all.
But yeah, so anyway,
Sorry.
Well,
Jenny,
we
for
are
this.
rounding out about a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is that okay?
Yeah.
we
good.
went through the whole
That's
EP.
awesome. Yeah.
Like,
No,
Yeah.
talked about every song.
Yeah.
Did you
every
say
song.
whole EP or holy P? Am I
Holy
right?
P.
Both. Yeah.
Everybody got to hear every song.
That was
awesome.
a double entendre.
Everybody got to
Awesome.
hear kind of how y'all went into it.
Yeah.
So what's the future like?
Well, Matt's got to stop masturbating furiously because otherwise he's never going to get that thing off.
Right.
Or
And I'm talking
or
about
will
what's
he?
on. I was going to say I'm talking about what's on his arm.
Well, as far as the future, it's a future I can see, but it's so mysterious to me.
So mysterious and
Nice.
wondrous.
Hey now, say now, got to put it down. Yeah,
No,
come on and ride with it right now.
The plan is we do want to play shows. That's,
Yes.
That's the plan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We kind of have this set up to where if we can go play pop-up acoustic shows, or
Yep.
we can get together as a full band.
Or you can even play on Twitch.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is,
That I've
yeah.
Creative
Actually,
Twitch accounts.
Yeah.
thought I brought that up to her the other day.
Shout out High Voltage. He just recently got verified on Twitch, and I'm real proud of him. I know that has nothing to do with this, but that's my boy High Voltage.
Well,
and
Hi,
Congrats to
I'm
him.
high voltage.
no, yeah.
And
Brandon-
follow these guys on Twitter.
Yep.
2P Traumatic.
Yeah.
On Instagram, the Post Traumatic. It's all on the
It's
screen.
all right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's opposite.
It's opposite.
This side.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
It's over there.
Yeah, go to those.
Is it on
There.
me?
It's right on your face. It's right on your face.
Which way am I supposed to be pointing? This way?
No, other
No,
way.
This
other
way.
Yeah, other way.
No, that,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, if you look, it's right there. It's right. It's
Yeah.
right over there.
And
Kellen, point
check
to your
these
left,
guys out on Spotify,
like this.
on iTunes,
Yeah. Yep.
all your
Yeah,
favorite
they're-
music streaming
Yeah, do your best,
platforms.
man.
Yeah, we're there. It's on everything.
Listen to their album,
I love
love
the
their
art
album.
Please
They
do.
worked hard, and it sounds awesome.
It does.
So follow them, and be sure to follow this podcast too.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Eat some ghost pepper cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. This
Yeah, because
podcast is,
honestly,
yeah.
if it hadn't been for what Matt and Grant have done with this,
Yeah.
Right,
this
we wouldn't
would
even
have never
a platform
happened.
for it, right?
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
like it's because of this that
that
this
we even
band
have the opportunity,
yeah,
right?
you know?
The podcast is definitely. I don't even feel comfortable saying on the come up anymore. I said that for so long that now like they're past that. Like they're doing really cool stuff and they're humble guys, and that has a lot to do with it. There's not an egotistical bone in their
And
bodies.
shout out
so-
Grant,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Grant
who's
Rose
not here.
Poor
can't be
Grant.
with us
Yeah,
today,
where's
Oh,
but
he's sick.
Grant,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
even Grant.
Like, that's it?
Little guy's sick.
Yeah, it's not
I
a good
message you on
sick.
Snapchat, but you'd probably
Yeah.
be like, "Who is this?" See what I did there. Miss you, buddy. Don't miss you.
And normally, Matt over there hosts this show alongside Grant. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
me,
their
me and
podcast,
Ben
yeah.
here, we aren't normally here.
No.
You normally don't
I've-
have to look
I've
at us
been
ugly guys.
On podcasts, just like on the other side.
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
It's kind of weird being on the other side of
Yeah.
things.
It is.
It's
But then
definitely
again,
weird
like-
being on the other side.
I've
I
only
hope
ever
somebody
been
doesn't
on
start
this
singing
side.
"Stain."
I mean, like, luckily though, with like all
Not
of
only,
you,
yeah.
it was real
No, fuck
easy.
that.
Yeah.
You know, because like
Yeah.
I know you guys for one, and for two,
Right.
you guys.
It's been
like,
kind of fun.
Like I
'cause
said, there's
it's-
no rail. Like when everybody's like, "Oh,
No.
we're gonna go off rail," I already knew there wasn't a fucking rail.
On the way here, Nick was
Let's
like,
be
"How many
real.
times are you gonna talk about dicks?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We'll see." Like,
Wow.
Immediately.
You know.
I was gonna say it
Immediately.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't
Right.
be the way it is
Right.
otherwise.
Nobody
I
had to
mean,
challenge me.
There is two dick mans in the room. Like
Pretty
you
much.
can't really
Very
get past
true.
the dick
Double
jokes.
dicking.
well,
Well, I guess double dicking is a great way to end this.
Yeah, I think so,
So-
too.
if you
They-
ain't double digging, you ain't doing shit, bub.
Right.
Good old
Yeah,
DP down
so,
deep.
yeah,
Wolverine. Hey,
follow
Bub.
these guys, follow this podcast, and have a
Save
wonderful
the-
night, you sons of bitches.
Save the raunches for last, didn't you, Jen? Touche.
Bye.
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 Bye.